Hello and welcome to the channel. Today's story is called The Backpack of Dreams. It's a long, simple English story about a boy named Daniel who discovers a magical backpack that changes his life forever. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your favorite part of the story. Now let's begin. Daniel was 13 years old, a quiet boy who often felt invisible in his busy town. His days were filled with the ordinary routines of school, homework, and walking home along the same narrow streets. But one rainy afternoon, as the clouds pressed low and the air smelled of wet stone, Daniel turned into a lane he had never noticed before. At the end of the lane stood a crooked wooden sign, Curiosities and Wonders. The letters were faded, but the words seemed to glow faintly in the gray rain. Daniel hesitated, curiosity tugging at his feet, then pushed the door open. Inside, the shop was dim but alive with strangeness. Shelves were crowded with dusty glass bottles, rusty clocks with frozen hands, feathers from unknown birds, and stones that shimmered with a light of their own. The air smelled of old paper and wood smoke. Behind the counter stood an old man with kind, sharp eyes. "Looking for something?" he asked. Daniel shook his head. "Just curious." The man chuckled softly. "Curiosity is the best beginning. Many forget that." On the counter sat a backpack, worn blue canvas with leather straps. It looked ordinary, almost too ordinary compared to the strange treasures around it. The man rested his hand on it. "This has been waiting for you," he said. Daniel frowned. "But I don't have money." The man leaned closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. "This backpack asks no money, only honesty. Take it and see." Daniel, confused but drawn, lifted the backpack. It was light, almost empty. Still, something about it made his heart beat faster. He thanked the man, who only nodded, as though everything was already decided. That night, Daniel sat on his bed with the backpack on his lap. He opened it slowly, half expecting nothing at all. But inside was a single piece of folded paper and a small box of colored pencils. The note read, "Today you will draw." Daniel had never been good at drawing. His sketches were always clumsy and plain. But as he picked up one pencil, his hand seemed to move easily, lines flowing across the page. He filled it with mountains, rivers, and stars, brighter and sharper than anything he had drawn before. For the first time, he felt like an artist. The next morning, the drawing and pencils were gone. The backpack was empty. Daniel blinked, wondering if he had dreamed it. But when he reached inside again, something else was there. A small soccer ball and another note. "Today you will play." Daniel laughed in disbelief. That day at school, he joined a soccer game with boys he had never spoken to. At first, they looked surprised, but soon he was running, kicking, even scoring a goal. By the end, he had new friends. Day after day, the backpack gave him something different. A guitar pick and strings that helped him play music he had never learned. A book of stories that made classmates laugh when he read aloud. A pair of running shoes that made him faster than he had ever been. Every morning, Daniel woke up with excitement. What dream will it give me today? But not everyone was happy. At school, a boy named Kevin noticed Daniel's new skills. He glared and muttered, "Why are you suddenly good at everything?" Daniel didn't know how to answer. The backpack was his secret, but Kevin whispered to others, "He's cheating somehow." Some laughed, some doubted, and Daniel felt the sting of jealousy. Then one morning, Daniel opened the backpack and found nothing. No note, no gift. His stomach dropped. What if the magic is gone? At school, he tried to draw, but the lines were crooked. He tried to run, but his legs were heavy. He tried to sing, but his voice cracked. Kevin laughed louder than ever. "See? He's not special." Daniel walked home with his head down, rain mixing with his tears. He returned to the shop, desperate. The old man was sweeping the floor calmly. "Why is the backpack empty?" Daniel cried. The man looked up with gentle eyes. "Because today it wants you to use what you already learned. Magic is not forever. It only shows you what you can do. The rest is your choice." Daniel's heart sank, but something inside him stirred. Could it be true? Could he really hold on to those gifts himself? The next day there was an art contest at school. Daniel had no magical pencils. He picked up a cheap pen and began to draw. Slowly, carefully, he remembered the lessons. His picture was not perfect, but it was his, and to his surprise, it won second place. Weeks passed. Sometimes the backpack offered gifts again. A lantern during a stormy night that lit his whole neighborhood. Gloves that helped him carry wood for a neighbor. A flute that played sweet songs. Other times it remained empty, testing Daniel's courage. Through it all, Daniel changed. He stood up to bullies to protect smaller children. He read stories to the younger kids at the park. He played guitar and brought joy to strangers. Slowly, Kevin's jealousy melted, and one day Daniel even asked, "Want to practice together?" Kevin frowned at first, but finally agreed. They became friends. The backpack continued to guide him, though less often. It gave him a map that glowed, leading him to people who needed help. It gave him a puppy collar, and the very next day Daniel found a stray dog, whom he named Lucky. From then on, the two were inseparable. The backpack taught him courage, kindness, patience, and joy. But as Daniel grew older, the gifts became rarer. Weeks would pass with nothing but empty space. At first he worried. Then he realized he no longer needed the backpack every day. The magic had already moved inside him. One evening, as the sun sank low, the backpack gave him its final note. "Dreams end, but lessons stay. You no longer need me." Daniel felt both sadness and gratitude. The backpack had given him so much. But he knew the truth. It had only shown him who he really was. The next morning he walked back to the shop where it had all begun. Outside he placed the backpack on the doorstep. A small boy passing by stopped and stared at it with wide eyes. Daniel whispered softly, "It's your turn now." Years passed. Daniel grew into a young man, then an adult. He kept drawing, playing music, and helping others. People admired him, not for a magic backpack, but for his kindness, creativity, and courage. Whenever he felt doubt, he remembered the lessons. Be brave, share light, believe in others. And though he no longer carried the backpack, in his heart he still felt it. Because the real backpack of dream was never on his shoulders. It was inside him all along. Final moral. The backpack of dreams teaches us that real magic is not in objects, but in our courage, kindness, and willingness to share with others. Every gift is a seed, but the dream grows only if we believe in ourselves. Thank you so much for listening to the Backpack of Dreams. Daniel discovered that the real magic is not in the backpack, but in himself and in the kindness we share with others. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe for more simple English stories every day, and comment below. What lesson did you learn from this story? See you in the next story.